everyone. Welcome to Desert Haven Incorporated, our safety EPT. We'll be discussing utility failure today. So I picked this topic. I thought it was important, especially with all the winter storms that are happening across our country. A lot of places are seeing snow that don't generally experience snow, particularly in places like Texas and Tennessee. So first off, we're going to discuss what is utility failure. So a utility failure is any disruption in the services necessary for safe and proper operation of a home or building, such as electrical, water, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, telephone, and water utilities. And then the utility failure occurs when one or more of these services get interrupted. So it could be widespread like it is in Texas, or it could be limited to a specific building or area within a building. So we've done utility failures here at Desert Haven when you guys were in Project Independence or the HAB, and where we practice what it would be like if the lights went out. Or we discuss what would happen if the water went out, which we know that because we have had the water go out here. I'm sure you guys all remember the porta potties of, what was that, 2019? Was that 2019 or 2020? I don't remember. So an example of utility failure, a really popular one is power outages. So extended power outages may impact the whole community and the economy. A power outage is when the electrical power goes out unexpectedly. So here we'll see a little picture and it says closure due to power outage. So that's a business. So if the power goes out, the electricity goes out, it can disrupt communications, water, and transportation. Especially communications, how people talk. It can close retail businesses, grocery stores, gas stations, ATMs, banks, and other services. So ATMs can't function unless they have power, right? So gas stations might be impacted if there's no power there. The next one is cause food spoilage or water contamination. So the big one is food spoilage, because if the electricity goes out, all of our refrigerators are reliant on electricity. So unless we have a generator, a backup generator, the refrigerator might go out, and if it's out for a really long time, it could cause the food to spoil. So I remember our freezer here at Desert Haven went out when we were closed last year. That was a major bummer because it went out over a weekend. I came back and all the food in the freezer was warm. So I had to throw all that food away that was supposed to be frozen. It was very sad. So power outages can create food spoilage. Next one is it can prevent use of medical devices. So certain medical devices rely on electricity. So like dialysis machines need electricity in order to function. So the big thing I want to talk about today is what to do if there is utility failure. So if it's electrical, you want to keep your freezers and refrigerators closed, because if you open them, all the cold air gets let out and the hot air goes in, and then that's going to raise the temperature of the food and cause it to spoil. So you want to keep those refrigerators closed. If you have a generator, you're going to want to use it outdoors and away from windows. Do not use your gas stove and ovens to heat your home. So if it's cold, you don't want to turn on the gas stove or your ovens to heat your home, because those gases can be poisonous and make you very sick. So we're seeing in Texas, people are trying to stay warm by running their cars. Well, even though the garage doors are open, they're running their cars. It's circulating carbon monoxide, and people have died from breathing too much carbon monoxide in. Makes you very sleepy, and then you go into the eternal sleep. So do not use your gas stoves or ovens or your cars to stay warm if the electricity goes out. Disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges. So when the power comes back on, there's sometimes a surge, and that surge can actually break your electronics because it's too much for the electronics to handle. So it's a good idea to just unplug them until you know the electricity is back on. Some of you guys might have a special cable that your electronics are connected to prevent electrical surges from happening. In that case, you can just flip the little red switch and it'll prevent those electrical surges from taking place when the electricity comes back. Have an alternate plan for refrigerating medicines or using power-dependent medical devices, such as an ice chest. So let's say you have certain medicines that have to be kept refrigerated. Buy some ice, and if you have an ice chest at home, it's a good idea to at least have a small ice chest. You can put them in there, or even foods that might spoil easily, like milk, you can put in the ice chest. If you're in Texas right now and it's snowing really hard, you could put snow inside your ice chest and then put your food that might go bad in your refrigerator in that ice chest with a bunch of snow. If safe, go to an alternate location for heating or cooling. So we do have cooling centers here in Lancaster. I don't know if we have heating centers. That's something that I'd have to look into. But I know in Texas right now, they do have heating centers for people to go and warm up at. So that's important. You can check your local area to find out. So you go to City of Lancaster, and then their little search bar, you can type in cooling centers or heating centers. Bring items that can help protect you and others in these centers from COVID, such as masks, hand sanitizer, and any other cleaning materials you might need. Be a good neighbor. So we've talked about this before. If there's utility failure and you know it's affecting your whole apartment complex or your whole neighborhood, go check on your neighbors. Go check on the people around you. Make sure they're okay and see if they do anything. My aunt who lives in Texas got very fortunate. When her electricity went out, her neighbor was a very good neighbor and let her use his generator to warm up her food because they didn't have any electricity. So they connected their microwave to his generator and they were able to warm up some food for dinner. So I have a video here on how the Texans are responding to all this. So I'm going to show you this video really quick. Sorry, Nancy, I didn't tell you I had a video. I'm sneaking it in on you.
Oh, good.
All right, let's see. Share sound.
All across Texas, it's a struggle now just to keep warm.
It's freezing, it's a blackout, no electricity.
Back-to-back winter storms and 4 straight days of sub-freezing temperatures made worse by rolling blackouts to protect the power grid. Millions without power and heat for days.
This is a storm of a century, and it truly is. It's hard to deal with it all, but we're doing the best, dead level best job that we can.
For some, candles replace stovetops. Church fans, the only refuge from the cold.
How are you guys doing?
Unbearable conditions making life miserable.
We're just hoping that the lights will come back soon enough because it's really freezing. It's horrible.
Across Central and North Texas, pipes are freezing and breaking, but that's not the biggest concern. It's people and the risk of exposure.
It's a pretty tragic few days here in Houston and across Texas.
Another worry, reports of families being poisoned by carbon monoxide while trying to stay warm.
Do not use grills indoors. Do not use any appliances that belong outdoors, indoors, and do not run your car inside your garage.
A disaster still unfolding, with more cold weather and power outages expected over the next several days.
So that I got that video a couple days ago. Things are actually, I read recently that they're starting to get electricity. So that's good. But there were some things in there that I wanted to touch upon with you guys. I don't remember how to do a screen share. Here we go. Screen share. So some of the things they talked about were, people warming themselves up in cars, and getting sick from the carbon monoxide, or using their stoves indoors, their barbecues. So make sure you're not doing that. I know some of the ways and some other videos, people, you see pipes are breaking and it's led to a water shortage. So people have actually used their barbecues to warm up the snow and melt it so they can drink it. And there's been donations for bottles of water and such. So now we're going to go into how to prepare now. Hopefully here in Palmdale, California, in Lancaster, we have had our snowy days. Hopefully we won't ever experience a cold quite like that, but we could have utility failures due to heavy rain. We could have utility failures due to, especially in the summer, because too many people are using electricity. We could have utility failures because of an earthquake or a fire. So here's some ways to prepare for a future utility failure. So a big thing that you can do now is take inventory of the items that you rely on for electricity. So probably not a TV. That's probably not the most important thing, but your refrigerator, right? Your phones, that's a big one right there. We'll discuss other items that use electricity at the end. I'll let you guys give me some suggestions. So it's a good idea to take inventory of the things that need electricity. So plan for batteries and other alternatives to meet your needs when the power goes out. So another one is lights. If it's dark and there's no electricity, you're not going to have any lights. So you could use candles. But a good one is to have flashlights with extra batteries for every person in the household. So I'll put some links on Facebook on where you can get some of these battery packs and such, and these flashlights, because they have some really, really good deals. So you have stuff on backup. Install carbon monoxide detectors with a battery backup in central locations of every level of your home. So there are fire alarms and carbon monoxide detectors that actually connect to the wiring in your house. But if the electricity goes out, they're no longer able to function properly. So it's a good idea to have some of them with batteries, and you're going to want to change those batteries every year to make sure they're working properly. Determine whether your home phone will work in a power outage and how long battery backups will last. So there are landlines. So a landline is like this phone here at work that don't necessarily need electricity in order to function. Phone is not plugged into an electrical outlet. It's only plugged into the phone line. But we do know that our cell phones do require electricity. So they might not last very long. So that's why it's a good idea to have a battery pack in case your cell phone is your only phone in your home. So that way you can charge your phone if needs be. Another way of getting prepared is review the supplies that are available in case of power outages. So some of these supplies should include non-perishable foods. What does that mean? Non-perishable foods, an apple is perishable. Lunch meat is perishable. Anything that needs to be refrigerated is perishable, like milk and cheese. Non-perishable items are like canned foods. So I have a can of chili here. So this one's going to last quite a while. The expiration date is Best Buy August 2023. So that's a non-perishable item. Peanut butters. Most peanut butters last for quite a while. Breads last for a little while, but not as long as maybe some other things. So make sure you have a supply of food and a can opener to open those foods. That's also important. Cleaning supplies are important. So if you don't have running water and you need to clean off anything, you're going to want some maybe Lysol wipes or spray to clean the area. It's a good idea to have backup water. So jugs, I carry bigger jugs than this at home, and then I change them out every 6 months. So I have fresh water. So usually either we'll drink them or I'll pour them in the garden. So it's a good idea to have at least a gallon per person in your household at the very least. In case services are cut off, okay, so water for several days in case services are cut off, and make sure you have a can opener. So can opener is a big one. If you're able to, set aside items like soap, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, because you're still going to have to use the restroom. And if you use the restroom and there's no running water, you can't wash your hands. So that's why it's good to have hand sanitizer. After a power outage, you may not have access to these supplies for days or even weeks. So you want to make sure you have plenty of backup things that you would need, like toilet paper as well. Have a fully stocked first aid kit. So that's really important. Extra blankets, especially if it's cold, you want to have extra blankets to cuddle up in. Spare cash. Like I said, if the ATM machines aren't working and you need to buy supplies, cash is king. So you might need cash in order to buy things. And then a radio at hand. So preferably one that is charged or has batteries. That way you can listen up for news updates if your phone goes out and the TV goes out. Use a thermometer in the refrigerator. These little thermometers are really cheap. It's what I use here in the cafe refrigerators. So if you keep it in the refrigerator and freezer so you know the temperature when the power is restored. Throughout food if the temperature is 40 degrees or higher. So if the milk's been sitting there in a couple of days and the temperature in the refrigerator is 50, well, chances are that milk is on its way to spoiling and you're going to want to toss it. So that is it for our utilities. So thank you guys for joining me.